All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD Mode Health and Fitness podcast, joined by my business partner, good friend, and health and fitness mentor, Jim Brown. Jim, what's up, brother?
Not much, man. What's going on?
Oh, just another beautiful week, man.
That's right.
Crazy week going on, crazy solar eclipse. Did you have a chance to check that out?
Yeah, I was on a plane, so the outside light was a little weird. You know, there was a guy next to me watching the whole thing on his phone, so I got to kind of see that a little bit. But in Tampa, I was flying from Atlanta to Tampa. We just had a kind of a weird, kind of dimmed light a little bit. I don't think we were in the right spot to have that full, but it was pretty cool, man.
Yep.
Yeah. How about you? Did you go outside and see it?
Dude, I totally forgot about it. Yeah, sales calls all day, and then my kids get home, and I'm like, oh crap, I told so I spaced that one. But
yeah.
All right, man. So today we're going to talk about a fun topic, which is getting ripped and defining that by sub 10% body fat. It's getting to be at. I mean, what do we got here? Is it in April right now? Is at least the time that we're recording this. But then not just getting ripped, but then maintaining all of that muscle mass that we've worked so hard to go out there and put on.
Yeah.
So before I jump into this, man, did you get your red fridge light all set up?
Now, that's I shouldn't laugh too hard. I do have red night lights in the house.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to justify my reason for that. Okay. So when you get up, well, I get up at least twice in the night to take a piss, right? So when I get up to piss at night, I'm going to see that light, right? I'm going to see that, and so my theory is that okay, I'm not going to ruin my melatonin production, whatever, shut it down. But so I get it, man. I get it. When I go to open the fridge at night, it's a fucking bright light, dude. But I'm not opening the fridge anytime near the time that I'm going to bed, and I'm certainly not opening the fridge in the fucking middle of the night. I mean, it's a rare occasion, and if I am, I'm just going to go ahead and take the hit, from the bright light. But yeah, man, Paul Saldino, another banger, another banger.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't even watch his video. I just saw your post. I didn't even watch his video, and I just saw his post. I'm like, and I get it. We're in a time where you got to be polarizing. You gotta,
Sure.
So who knows? But yeah, he's definitely.
And this is the guy that went through airport security with 10 coconuts.
Yeah.
For water to drink on the flight. So, just you gotta take it anything he says with a grain of salt.
At first I was a fan of his. In that.
Yeah.
I mean, he started off, kind of going vegan, and then realized the health damages of the position, and then went carnivore, had a lot of great health issues. And he even wrote, the Carnivore Code book, I think it was called. And but then came out 2 years later of hey, that screwed me up, and he had to reintroduce carbs. And what I'm bringing all that up is I like somebody that doesn't get so stuck to their hypothesis that then they die on the vine. It showed me that, okay, this is a guy that is willing to try new things, and also willing to admit that he was wrong or when he was wrong, and add new things. But then it went to I had to quit watching his stuff because
belittling McDonald's workers.
Well, I didn't see that. I quit watching stuff because it got to a point where I'm like, dude, everything.
You're like, what are you doing?
Me, I can't even operate life without thinking I'm gonna fucking die. Right?
Yeah. No, I mean, the funny part is, he's living a fucking pretty good life in Costa Rica, hanging on the beach, and probably a life we'd all like to live. While he's posting this shit up, probably just laughing his ass off. I would hope. I hope I hope that's not fucking serious, but who knows?
Yep.
Who knows, man?
So, okay. So talking about getting ripped. So in order to do that, we got to be in a deficit to lose body fat. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about, and I saw you recently post on your Twitter on or X or whatever about this, but coping with the hunger pains, and you gave me some advice, which I'll share here after I ask you this question. But
nurturing.
But it's those things of Because people today, dude, are just not accustomed to being hungry. It's like they freaking snack all the time. So if somebody's serious about this, like it's that awareness of, okay, you're gonna have hunger pains, but because I mean, you've coached and mentored people that have went on 200 plus weight loss journeys, and so for maybe people, I mean, it's different for guys that have been at the game for a long time, like you know what you're getting into, but for somebody that maybe's never experienced having to be really hungry, what's your advice to them and just being prepped and for hunger pains?
Well, I'll probably give it as nurturing and as gentle as I can. That is such of my style, but suck it the fuck up and get used to it. So, just I think mentally, you just have to know, you just have to accept the fact that you're going to be hungry. All right. And that's okay, because once you get used to that, it's all right. Like when you're hunger kind of hits, it doesn't really last that long, right? It's usually just a kind of a something that hits you, and then it kind of wears off after a few minutes. You got that, like that little ping, where you get hungry, and if you just ride it out or drink some water or whatever, it kind of goes away after a while, until you get ultra lean, and that's 5% body fat, and then a different kind of hunger starts to hit, which is starvation hunger, and that's a whole different animal. But most people aren't going to get to that. Believe me, you're not going to get to that unless you have veins all over your body and you can see striations in your glutes. You're not there yet. But the hunger that we're feeling, or that we're all going to feel if you diet, and in my experience, successfully start to lose body fat, unless you're super fat, then it's you got a ways to go. I don't think you're too hungry on the way down. But anyway, that's just a ping that kind of comes and goes. The better that you get to dealing with that and dismissing it in your mind, the more successful you're going to be. And look, man, I mean, I deal with it too. I get it all the time. And when I'm trying to cut, whatever, reduce calories, it's just something that I accept. Like, okay, I'm hungry. That's good. That means my metabolism's working right. That means that I'm burning fat, and I'll go away here shortly, and before you know it, I'll have another meal. But man, when my metabolism is working great, like I'm starting to kind of lean out from my top comfortable stage, and prepared in trying to get ready for bikini season here. But I after I eat a meal of, say, meat and rice or meat and veggies or whatever, if I'm not hungry right after that, right after I ate it, I know that I'm not in full fat loss mode yet. So if I eat a 6-ounce piece of steak and some broccoli or rice, if I'm not hungrier immediately after that meal, I know that my metabolism isn't really there yet. So even after I eat something like that, I'll get even hungrier for a little bit, and then it kind of goes away. And that's a good sign to me. I look forward to that. That means that I know that I know damn well I'm in a deficit and I'm burning body fat. Um, there's really no way to get around that. And that's why people come up with all these crazy fucking diets and do all this shit and then get, tribalized over this stuff. And that's why keto and low carb is so popular, because you're eating a shitload of fat, and that's kind of curbing, that's more satiating, and it's kind of curbing your hunger. You're kind of hacking your way out of hunger. And the problem is, and where people go wrong is then they get into this, well, there's low insulin, so you're not storing your body fat and you're burning fat, but calories still matter. And so that's why a lot of those people never really get lean. They
Yeah.
always stay kind of where they're at, because they don't realize that calories still matter. And if you're in a caloric deficit, even in keto, you're kind of hungry. It's going to happen. Um, and so all these little hacks to try to not be hunger, or to think that hunger's bad, or, you know, eating certain things to not be hungry, man, it's all just getting around the problem. If you attack the problem head on and become the master of your mind and say, hey, I'm hungry, that's par for the course, fuck off, I'm just going to deal with it, then you're going to be successful at whatever you're doing in terms of dieting. If you try to hack your way around it, you're not. You're going to end up consuming more calories than you should. You're not going to be in a deficit, most likely. We're talking about guys getting down to 10% body fat. And then, you're going to be looking for other hacks, and other hacks that are available now is like a semi-glutide, Ozempic, whatever. You could take something like that. You can take an amphetamine. All those come with a lot of cost. They come with a hefty bill to pay in terms of risk or whatever. And it's all addressing the same fact. You can't master hunger.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I remember, when I first started dieting hard and yeah, I reached out to you and had that same question of like, "Hey, dude, any hacks for these hunger pains?" I wasn't used to because I got fat and out of shape and I was used to eating for comfort and whatever. And but yeah, you're like, nope. You're like, suck it up. But then the thing that you followed up with, I don't remember exact words, suck it up, man, the fuck up, whatever. But then what you followed up with really did help me. And look, okay, suck it up. Okay, I
Yeah.
figured out how to suck it up, right? But then the next thing that you said is hunger is the best fat burner there is. So then, and I don't know what that did for me mentally, dude, but ever since you said that to me, dude, it's like now I positively correlate hunger, knowing that my body's burning fat. So now I look forward to the hunger because I know what my body's doing with it. It's weird, but I can almost visualize my body like just burning that.
Oh, if I'm not hungry, then I know something's fucked up. Like when I was trying to experimenting with intermittent fasting, like day 2 or 3, when I'm not hungry anymore, I know I'm in the wrong space. And sure as shit, bad things happen right after that.
Yep.
When I tried semaglutide, just gone, and I don't have any way to really regulate how much food I'm taking in. I forget to eat, of course, a few days after, 3, 4 days, 5 days, I'm headed down a slope into a valley that I do not want to go into. And so I really believe, hunger is just a insanely valuable tool for me and for you. I mean, you've learned how to use it. You learn what it means. And if you're dieting and you're hungry, that's a fucking great sign. That's what you're after. I mean, that's what we're after.
Yep.
And to blunt that or ignore it or try to hack it, it's a mistake.
Yep. And then from there, because it's, yeah, we want to be hungry, but we still, because we're going to be in a deficit, right? But then from there, like we still need to make sure that we're hitting certain macros because, the overall topic today is, getting ripped. So really we're speaking to those that are into working out already that, so they want to maintain their muscle. So when it comes to this, what are some important things when it comes to like balancing that hunger, but not getting into starvation mode where, yeah, you're losing all this fat, but you're now stripping away your muscle just as fast?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So one, if you have any type of muscle mass on and you're trying to preserve it, you're gonna have to reglycogenate, or you're gonna have to have enough carbs in your body to train properly. And can you do that eating just protein? Can you do that eating just fat? Not in a deficit. You'd have to eat an excess of those things to have I think proper levels of muscle glycogen to train. And so that's why I incorporate carbs all the time. You've heard me talk about carb cycling, and that's kind of the way that I deal with it, where I'll deplete all my glycogen stores and then I'll reload on one high day, and that'll get me through 3, 4 days of good training with glycogen before I run out. And I'm also in a deficit for 6 out of the 7 days, which overall is a deficit. And that's the way that I do it. But the other way that one of the other things that I use is when I get leaner, I also have to eat more carbohydrates too, and I tend to increase my calories doing that. So the leaner I get, my calories go up slightly, just because everything is turned on and it seems like I'm burning faster, I'm burning fat, I'm in that mode, and I have to eat more carbohydrates to keep muscle on. So as I get leaner, I'm adding more carbs. So I'm not blowing the deficit out of the water. I'm probably adding, another couple, maybe 100, 200 in carbs over the day. But really, that's not a huge amount in terms of what my maintenance is. But the macros shift a little bit to more carbs even on the lower days.
Yeah, yeah, and to put that into context, for those of you guys are watching, listening, Jim is a freaking huge ass beast, right? So, what, 6'3", what are you, 260?
260s, yeah.
You know, right? So me, 5'10", 180, you know, okay, your 100 to 200 for me might be a 50 to 100 increase,
Right, right.
you know, but
Yeah.
what point does that kick in? Like, how long are you in a deficit for? Like, what is there a body fat percentage where you find yourself then having to make that switch?
Yeah, for me, when that high load day, and for instance, it's like 900 to 1100 grams of carbohydrates that I'll eat for the high day to reglycogenate. If that doesn't last till like Wednesday, then I know that I need to start adding more carbohydrates, even on my lower days. But even if I'm just dieting without carb cycling, then I'm going to average probably, let's say 250 carbs during the day, very low fat. Protein is probably going to be 300, something like that. I'll add carbs every day to that total, because if I don't, I'm flatter. I can't train. My glycogen feels like it's completely empty, meaning like when you go to work out, I can't get a pump. If I do, it only lasts 2 minutes. My energy goes down. I start to feel mentally like I'm overtrained. My lifts are being affected. Then I know I have to eat more carbs, or I'm going to have to do these reload days. And if, in my experience, if you don't do that, you start to lose muscle mass more rapidly. And let me be clear, even when, I was on a lot of performance enhancing anabolic drugs to specifically to slow down the loss of muscle when you diet. Anytime that you're dieting and you're going towards, like I going from 15% to 10%, you're probably not going to lose any muscle mass. Going to 8%, maybe. To go down to 7, 6, and 5, you're going to start to lose muscle, no matter what, no matter how many drugs you're on. So, you know, the the key is to how to minimize that. And one of the strategies I use is to increase carbohydrates.
Yep. Yep. So then, okay. So before we get there though, and when we're like, you know, initially going in that, so let's just say somebody's at 15% body fat and
Yeah.
they, you know, right now today, at least at the time of recording this, it's April 11th, but then by, let's just say June, they want to be at 10%, you know, and, you know, for me, like, and I don't know if you found if there's a certain formula where, okay, if you're losing weight too rapidly, that might mean that you're also sparing fat or sparing muscle. So I've always tried to, like, you know, 500 day caloric deficit puts me at about 2 pounds a week of weight loss. I've always found like that is a good run rate for me. It feels like where I'm
Yeah.
maintaining muscle, but I'm losing fat. But then it's at accelerated enough where then, like, within 6 weeks, 8 weeks, like I can turn like look like a totally different human being.
Yeah, and one of the things is when you first start, you kind of you got more wiggle room. Your body's going to be more forgiving. So if you go a little bit harder in the beginning with a deficit, you're probably not going to lose muscle for a while, right? And then you got time. So if you go a little bit harder or whatever, if you're 500 calories below what you think your deficit is, and you're losing 2 pounds a week, I mean that's pretty good. That's a pretty good clip, unless you're massive at 50%, you're talking
Yeah.
300 pounds or something. But yeah, that's a pretty good clip. And then as you go down and you start to feel weak, or you're starting to be flat all the time, or your training's affected, then you can start throwing carbs at it and increasing your calories a little bit. And you got a lot of, you have some play there. But that's a great strategy. I mean, that's an easy way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So then from there, does it matter on, because I've heard so many different debates, and I'm sure everybody else has too, of smaller meals more frequent, or you know, lesser meals but more calories. Does it really matter as long as you're hitting your overall macros per that day?
Well,
You good?
yeah, if I'm doing it right, I'm eating, on the low carbohydrate day, I'm eating about 300 grams of protein, and I can't do that in fucking 3 meals.
Yeah.
I just can't. 300 grams of protein from chicken is, I mean, it's literally a little bit over 3 pounds. So I can't eat a pound of chicken at one time, 3 times a day. Um, so I'll split that up into 5 meals. Do I think I could do it in 3 meals? I mean, if I could, let's just say that, I could consume that amount. Yeah, I could. But it's a lot of food, man. It just feels better to spread it out a little bit. Do I think it matters in terms of fat burning or any of that. I don't really think it does. When you're eating meat like that, you get kind of a sustained release of amino acids for hours. So it's, in terms of what are you getting? Are you getting protein spikes and all that stuff? I don't think any of that really matters. But to me, it's easier to do it spread out in at least 4 meals. Almost everybody has to hit four to get those kind of numbers. I even do 5 and 6, depending on how tired I am of eating chicken. So it really depends, man. But it's hard to do in 3 meals.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's what I found is a good flow for me too, right? Like,
yeah,
every 3 to 4 hours,
yeah,
right? So then I get about 5 meals in a day. Now, when I say 5 meals, 2 of those might be shakes, but then 3
yeah.
solid meals in addition to that. But then I'm able to, you know, get my protein requirements in, but then also like, yeah, am I still hungry? Like you mentioned, okay, even after I eat, I'm still hungry.
It gets.
Yeah,
I get hungrier after I eat.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
But
one of
at
the
least
things,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, and one of the things that the body really likes, and I respond really, really well to, is if I eat the same exact things at relatively the same time every day, my body gets kind of, I don't know, in sync with that. And well, one, better not be late on a mealtime. That's for damn sure, because bad shit starts to happen and you start to freak out. At least I do. But that's when I yield the fastest results. If I'm eating the same foods day in, day out, and they're at the same times, the same frequency, and my body responds very well to that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, me too, dude. It's like what my gut always feels good. Like yeah, and that's like the number one question I get from people is how do you eat the same foods all day long? But then after I've been doing it for so long, I'm like, how do you not, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like I don't think people realize how good and amazing that when you find the right foods that you know align with you and you know, but there's just something there. What is that? Just your body gets so used to digesting them that
I don't know, but we've talked about this before. But the way that you and I and the way that I try to teach people how to build their diet and their list of foods are, we basically start an elimination diet, right? We're starting with, depends on how knowledgeable you are and what foods for sure work in you. But I start everybody on red meat that doesn't know, and then we'll add peas. How does peas? Okay, then we'll add some fruit. How did that fruit feel? Okay, let's try this vegetable. And it's a kind of an elimination diet, and then we start experimenting with foods. And if you eat something and it bloats you up, and you don't feel good, whatever, your gut's affected, you don't eat that food anymore. So you're left with this list of foods that works well in your body because we've tested it, and those are the same foods that you're eating right now, the same foods that I'm going to eat, five for almost every meal, for the next week or whatever. And I think those are the foods that I know are going to work well in my body, and my body works well on it. And so I'm not really fucking around, with, oh, I had a pizza at the cafeteria and, this, now I'm bloated, or I ate a bowl of asparagus or a bowl of broccoli, whatever, with lunch. Now I'm bloated and I feel like shit. It doesn't work. These are simple foods that we've tested, we know work well in your body, and when you consume them on a regular basis, I think magic happens, man. I mean, egg whites and white rice are literally I mean, I can't, the recovery potential that I get from that, the recovery I get from eating that post workout is incredible. It's unmatched. I
yep,
don't know.
yep, yep. Yeah, my son Jackson, man, he wants to get on the rice kick. So we gotta go get him.
Dude,
I'm like, all right, fine. I'm all start craving on
rice
rice.
cooker. You should get a rice cooker.
I see that picture of him, dude. He's getting jacked, man, for like
Kid is ripped.
he just turned 11. That was actually on his birthday that I seen that picture. So he just turned 11 and yeah, I mean, he's it's awesome. It's
That's
awesome.
awesome, man. That's pretty
Um,
cool.
yeah. So then, yeah, and dude, like from day one, you've always told me of, all right, when you're in your quote unquote bulk, you're eating the same foods. We're just slightly increasing the calories. When we go into deficit and we're trying to lean out, same foods, just slightly less calories. All right. So it's not like back in the day. I don't know if you ever did this, but I think the bro term is dirty bulk. Right? Where you just put
Well,
on, like you just start eating a bunch of shit, put on 40 pounds in the off season. And, but that's never done me well.
no. I mean, I did that. I started a diet once at about 24% body fat, and then fucking almost killed me, man.
Yeah.
Almost killed me. But Lee Priest, I was watching maybe an older clip of his. He was famous for getting really puffy in the off season, and putting on a lot of body fat and looking like shit and all that. But you'd see pictures of him eating KFC or something. But what you didn't know is he ate all his foods first. Like he ate the chicken and rice first, and then he went and got a box of Krispy Kremes. And that's the part that people miss. I think some of these guys just go completely off the rails, but off-season bodybuilder like that, they're still eating their fucking foods, whatever it is, meat and potatoes, chicken, rice, whatever. They're still eating that, but then if they have excess, they can have more calories or, just taking a break off season, whatever. Then you eat the ice cream. It's not you eat the ice cream instead of all that shit.
Yeah.
You're just eating that on top of the same foods, and that's it, man. So what do you eat to get lean? Chicken and rice. Well, what do you get to get bigger? More chicken and rice.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, and I also learned a long time ago of, okay, we all like to watch what the elite priests and the pros are doing, but man, and learn very quickly that those guys are freaking genetic freaks, and they can get away with shit I can't.
That's true too. But you've never saw the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
You never knew the real insight. Well, shit, he had 4 meals of chicken and rice before he ate that box of donuts. So, okay, that's not the way I was doing it. I was just eating the damn donuts. I might chase it down with a protein shake. So a lot of times it's so misleading to see somebody's snapshot on what would be, social media right now. Them, Mike O'Hearn eating a donut. Dude, that guy don't eat fucking donuts.
Yeah.
You're seeing one snapshot. Shit, the first time I learned that is when I saw the full interview of Tom Platt saying, "I only squat once a month." Oh shit, you don't do that every week? I thought you've been doing it every week. That's what I've been doing. That's why, you're talking to a guy that had rhabdomyolysis twice because I'm trying to fucking work out like Tom Platts did. I had no idea he was only squatting once a week. Well, shit, Tom, you didn't mention that in the Flex magazine that I read.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a snapshot of time, and half the articles and postings and whatever. That's not what's really going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So let's just assume now, okay, they're in they got the right foods down, the right meal frequency, they're managing the hunger pains, they're in a 500, caloric daily deficit or whatever to lose 2 pounds of fat a week. How does your, if any, how does your training change, or any recommendations when it comes to training? Like,
Well, it depends how you're training to begin with. If you're training like I do with the higher reps in the beginning, where we're going to failure 18 to 20, and then second set's lower, third set's lower. If you're doing a 4 set, it's even lower. I think that you're hitting all the rep ranges. You're burning a lot of calories. Certainly, you're doing a lot of reps, and training for me, when I get depleted like that, I'll start to lose reps. I'll start to lose reps on my weights. Instead of doing, what I think I'm going to hit 18 reps on a, whatever bench, I'm getting 16, 15. Okay. Can I throw more carbs at it? Do I have room to, or is that just where I'm at right now with the diet? So you'll probably see what I notice first is kind of, you're not hitting the reps that you normally do. And that could be an indication that you're not training with enough glycogen, or it might be that you're just in such a deficit that's par for the course. But that's probably the time when I start to reconsider, okay, what am I doing? Is this what I'm expecting, or is it really kind of a shock? Am I recovering from my training sessions? Am I still motivated to train? Can I do my cardio? Do I have enough energy, or is my energy really tanked? And then that's the time that I start maybe manipulating the macros a little bit to, by this time I'm dumping almost all fat, almost all dietary fat, and replacing those calories with carbs.
okay. And then, then from there, what does cardio look like? Is it less? Is it more? Because I know you do a lot of cardio.
Yeah, I do a lot of cardio now, but it's to support my hobbies, right? So I'm doing 40 to an hour of zone 2 cardio a day so that when I get into the ocean, one, I have the endurance if I need it to swim for an hour, or 2 hours or 3 hours, or if I'm underwater and I really have to put out, I'm not going to puke, because that actually increases my VO2 max. So that when I'm tasked to really put out, I have a little bit more time. But that's also, it hasn't really affected my training that much, as long as I'm not in a huge deficit. It's actually increases my recovery. But for fat loss, I wouldn't throw cardio at it in the beginning if you're not doing it already, because that's a great tool to save for when you need it. Um, what does cardio do? I mean, it literally just increases the caloric deficit that you're in. And I think that you have to do some hard ass cardio at the end to get, you know, inevitably you're going to have a sticking point in your fat loss, or kind of where your body stops or you hit some plateaus. And it's good to have a couple tricks on board or some things that you're not doing at the time. And one of those is cardio. So I like to throw it in then, when fat loss is starting to slow down. And the leaner I get, to continue to get lean, then I have to start doing what I would consider fucking hard ass cardio. And that's something
Yeah.
like the stair mill.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, is there any, because like, and I'm sure everybody's different, and I don't know. I mean, like, maybe it's just in my head, but for me, man, just walking, dude, just seems to do wonders for me. Like when I'm trying to, push through and lose that, like as
Yeah.
far as losing the fat, but I feel like I don't lose any muscle with that.
Yeah.
I'm not speed walking either, but I just, like I'll get in 5 miles a day,
Yeah.
and it just seems like, dude, fucking starts melting. Like to your point, if I hit a wall, then I'll just throw that in, and it just like jump starts everything like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, if you're not doing cardio now, I would start the diet first and then save cardio for when you need it. Because if you start it right away, we're going to run out tricks to throw at it when you get to a sticking point. So I like to keep that kind of in the vest until you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, because like you mentioned, okay, when you like hitting the stairmaster, is there any element where it's too much though? Where it, like talking about trying to also maintain muscle mass while getting lean.
Yeah. It depends where you're at, man. It depends where you're at. For me, I can get away with, 15 to 20 to 30 minutes on a stair mill, pretty hard going after it in a deficit. And it doesn't wreck me, but I separate it from my training at that point, right? So I'm not doing that and then trying to lift, or I lift first and do that. So it's a different session. So that kind of helps, I think, with my training and not losing muscle too, because I'm eating around both training sessions. Um, but I don't think that zone two cardio would affect muscle loss. I don't think that's going to increase muscle loss at all. It would increase the amount of calories you're burning, but I think to your point, like a gentle walk, something like that, just getting its steps in the day, I don't think that's too detrimental to muscle. But if you're really going hard into hit and really, for instance, like if I know I'm trying to get down to 5%, I know I'm going to spend an hour on the fucking treadmill.
Yeah.
Am I going to learn? Am I going to lose some muscle? Yeah, but that's the only way I'm going to get past 7 and get to 6 and 5.
Yep. Yep. And then, I know that, you're a big fan of, especially for your clients that are trying to lose a lot of weight, of doing like those, like 10-minute walks immediately after a meal. Is
Yeah,
that, something that's highly encouraged through this, or is that just something that you highly encourage regardless?
I don't consider that cardio. That's more for digestion and nutrient and just lowering blood sugar, everything, to help process food. If you're really big, like some of my clients are pretty big, getting up, they had to work up to a 10-minute walk after dinner. But I think that's something that's great for everybody. It's a fucking great strategy for everyone. I mean that if I mean if you just did that, it helps. It helps with a lot of stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I can't remember who I heard it from, but pretty
Stan made it
intelligent.
real popular. He kind
Okay,
of brought it
yeah,
up.
yeah, that's who.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was saying that those 10-minute walks essentially have the same impact that metformin does.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that was true or not. And I might even be taking what he said.
Well, no, I mean, I think he had said that, but it does. Does it lower your blood sugar? Yes. Um, I don't know if it has the same impacts as metformin, but you could say it kind of does similar things, right? I mean, the basis of it is to try to lower your blood sugar and help nutrient partitioning and all that stuff. And that's I can go with that. He made it real popular. Everybody had heard that from him before that. I mean, that was just a strategy that, dude, when you're eating so much food as a bodybuilder, you got to fucking walk afterwards. I mean, it was the only way to make it possible.
Yeah.
When I was eating 6,000 calories a day, I mean, it was almost mandatory. It's the only way to fucking do it.
Yep. And then when you're dieting hard, dude, like as far as drinking, because a lot of people drink a lot of calories, but let's just say somebody is, semi-intelligent. That's, like when they're going into this and they're like, okay, I understand not to go out there and drink a bunch of sugar and bullshit. But when it comes to like, is this just water and black coffee or, because like
Man,
sometimes, okay, like slipping in a Coke Zero or something can kind of, help when but I don't know if that fucks you up too in a negative
I
way.
got no problem with diet sodas at all. I mean, there's a limit to it, right? If it's affecting your hydration, then it's a problem. If you're too high in caffeine, I don't like to be over 400 milligram a day intake total. I think that starts to fuck with you. But that being said, man, diet sodas make my life a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I also drink a lot of fluid, a lot of actual water to hydrate myself and make sure I'm hydrated. So I'll drink that as my go-to. Of course, coffee is a massive intake. I drink a lot of coffee, but yeah, I don't have any problem with that. Where aspartame really starts to affect me or I feel it is if I'm doing something with a lot of aspartame, like Crystal Light. When I'm
Okay.
drinking a gallon of Crystal Light a day, then I start to feel like shit, and I attribute it to that. But other than that, a couple sodas a day or something, I don't have any issue with.
Yeah. It's why I like the sugar-free Red Bulls, dude. Like because they're like the little 8-ounce cans.
Yeah,
Like, especially, like, after like, when I'm really starving, if I have a meal and I
yeah,
eat that, like, right after my meal, I find it
yeah.
holds me on like, just having a little bit of carbonation in the gut kinda, holds me over a little bit
Oh,
longer.
I love it, man. Even yeah, just like I recently found Diet Squirt. Yeah, that's a fucking awesome. But yeah, that's kind of like a dessert, almost like a treat. But yeah, I have no issues with that. It's never slowed me down.
Yeah. Okay. So then, okay, so when it comes to any additional supplementation, I know everybody's looking for the hat. And I mean, you and I, we've talked about metformin many times on this podcast, but metformin definitely can help a little bit with losing body fat and staying a little bit leaner.
I think so, man. I think so. What I noticed, I haven't taken it for years, but what I noticed, it did make me less hungry. When, as I recall, being on it, and when I got lean, it was a little bit easier to stay leaner with it. But I also wasn't doing, reglycogenating, and I wasn't training. That I think overall, I stopped taking it because I went back to carb cycling. Um, but yeah, metformin, I think can be effective.
Yeah. Yeah. I quit
Or
taking it too, just because it's not for anything negative, but
yeah,
like, okay, where you're at, I think you can just go to any store and buy it. Out here, you can't. You
pretty
gotta get the
much.
doctor, and I'm just like, get
Yeah,
sick of the process.
yeah. I actually felt that the carbs worked a lot. I could manipulate my carbs and feel them much more effective without the metformin. But you know, that's why I stopped. Yeah, metformin. If you want to try it for that, sure. Do I think it curbs some of your appetite? I think it does. Some people had an issue, a hard time being hungry with it, um, or eating or hitting their numbers with it. But I don't remember if they were really in a big deficit though. But it did seem to help stay, keep you leaner when you were lean.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
then are you, I mean, because intermittent fasting is such a big thing now, and so many people talk about it. And are you and not speaking specifically to intermittent fasting, but like having like you remember Dr. Brett Osborne?
Hmm.
Like when I mean, I haven't worked with him for years, but because I had to fly out to Florida every so often, so I was like, all right, this is because he didn't have the full telemedicine. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I like the guy a lot, so nothing
Yeah.
negative there. But, but like I remember like first thing that he had me doing outside of the TRT protocol, but he was like, look, I want you to only have a 12-hour eating window every day. And
I think, yeah, just general health. If you get somebody to do that, they're probably going to improve their health, um, because you're probably going to help them cut down on the calories that they consume in a day. I mean, that's really what the big benefit is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But trying to maintain muscle and fasting isn't conducive.
yeah. Like we were speaking like a true intermittent fast. We were hitting like 16 or 18-hour
Yeah.
fast.
And you can, you can throw anybody you want. This guy does this guy does that. I'm just saying overall, those long fasts are not good for muscle retention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I got in, let's just say I did a 16-hour fast, so I had an 8-hour eating window, and that 8 hours I still got in my macros. Is that still negative for?
Man, for me, it would be. I could tell a difference. I would start to tell a difference. But, I'll go back to for maintaining and gaining muscle, especially for maintaining, well, both. For either of those scenarios, it's best to have a constant influx of amino acids from meat, from source meat, as long as you can in the day. And that's not conducive with fasting.
Yeah.
And the times in my life where I was the biggest, the leanest, and was carrying around the most amount of muscle, I was drinking a shake in the middle of the night. So I don't know. I know guys, there's some guys that can get away with it, but I also think they would be bigger if they didn't have that eating window.
Yeah, because back, I think about it. We're back when we were all testing the intermittent fasting, which I don't know how long ago that was, but I think I was 6, 7, 8 years ago, but or whatever that time.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it was, but
Yeah.
at the time I was also like in my mid-30s,
Yeah.
and I felt like okay, I was maintaining muscle good, but now that I'm getting older, and I'm like, well, makes me a little bit more nervous. But I don't,
Well,
I don't know. I didn't necessarily feel that much better intermittent fasting than not. To me, it's all the same. I don't see any
well,
reason for me to do it.
my metabolism responded very negatively very fast. It shut down real quick. And I went into, starvation mode where I'm holding on to fat and my metabolism just stops. So for me, it's never been really great, but, is that a function because my program my body otherwise? I don't know. But the older I get, the harder it is to keep on muscle. We've talked about this before, and I'm at the point now where I'm pulling out all the tricks that I had to use to get big in the first place just to maintain now. And so if I was fasting and not having a constant inflow of amino acids, it'd be even more difficult to maintain any muscle.
So
So
when
I
you're,
just don't think, if you're metabolically broken or you're fat, sure. But I think the biggest benefit there is just calorie restriction.
yeah, it's just easier for people just to
Yeah.
starve themselves out.
Yeah, and it does help you start to deal with hunger if you've never conquered it before. So for those two reasons, but then a lot of the guys that I coached or helped or did one of my sessions where I try to unscrew up what you're doing session. A lot of them will fast like a window like that, and they go, well, but I got 2,200 calories that I got to eat today. I just had a pizza, and I figured, well, I haven't eaten for 16 hours. So I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Now you're skinny fat. So, there's I don't like it. It's a tool. If you use it correctly, it can be beneficial. But for the most part, I don't think it's used properly.
Yeah, dude. I don't think people realize, and I mean, if you're health conscious and you're paying attention, you do. But like for like the average person, because it blew my mind, dude. When I think this was before you and I met, but yeah, I was like hitting CrossFit really hard, and I got really into running. And I'd go out there and do 10, 14 mile, like I'd go run a half marathon just on a Saturday just for fun, right? And but then I started measuring. Okay, well, I was like just kind of interested in, well, how many calories am I actually burning? So then I remember going on at, it was 14. I don't know if it's it was just over 14 miles, whatever the exact mileage was. I can't remember, but just over 14 miles. And I looked at that, and then I went on there and Googled like how many calories in a large slice of pizza.
Yeah.
And I would
Like, wah,
essentially
wah.
yeah, I'm like, "Holy crap, dude," like, the amount of energy and effort that it takes to go run 14 miles, and
Yeah.
all that's just decimated by, or you go to Applebee's and you have a freaking, Applebee's appetizer sampler, and it's like all that hard work just gone from one freaking meal, dude, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Um,
man. Well, that's, a lot of people aren't, you mentioned counting calories or something and they start to freak out, but really it just comes down to that. And if I can get somebody to start measuring food, and being aware of like, okay, that's shit, I could have a piece of pizza, but that's like 500 calories, or I can have two meals.
yep,
And that's the first step in really kind of understanding it all, because I don't like, we've talked said this a million times too, I don't like to print out a diet for somebody. I like to try to get them there, and teach them how to eat, through kind of guiding them along the way. And that's one of the things I think you have to learn. You have to learn what calories look like, what 50 grams of protein looks like, what vegetables. Yeah, it's 200 calories in that vegetables, but is it really 200 calories? No, it's not. It's, net maybe 100, net 50. And so once you start to understand all that stuff, it makes it easier to make the choices that you need to make to maintain a certain level of body fat, and certainly to lose it.
yep, yep. Okay, oh, yeah, this was gonna ask you, okay, I know you're a big fan and, EAAs, essential amino acids. When you're dieting hard, does anything change with that, or do you find yourself taking them more frequently to keep protein synthesis higher, or
Yeah, I mean, I'll sip it, definitely around trainings like we talked about. That's definitely my intra nutrition workout, and post when I'm doing, if I'm doing like a 15-minute recovery cardio or something. And then if I'm really, if I'm in a deficit, I'm hungry all day. I always have another one during the afternoon, especially in between meals. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know, but it seems to help. It seems to help me. And this 12 grams of protein from EAs really make a difference. I don't know, but I like to think it does. I know for sure it helps recovery when I drink it intra and post, recovery cardio. But during the day, I don't know. I'm certainly getting enough leucine in my protein hits, in my meals. But if I was somebody who was 50 plus, in the throes or just beginning the throes of sarcopenia and not really eating a lot, I would drink it a lot. I would drink it throughout the day
okay, yep,
for sure.
yep. Alright, and then, I'll just give this, it's not really a hack, but for anybody that, just in case this is beneficial, one thing that, because I went through my 100-pound weight loss, my heaviest was, just almost roughly 280, 276 at my heaviest. And, when I went through that, like, it having to experience those hunger pains. Like, one thing that I found is, like, first thing when I got in the morning, hydrating. So, like, slamming at least 30 ounces of water. And then I found, okay, if I drank about 16 ounces of water, about 15 to 20 minutes before every meal, it would just fill me up that much more, where that I could get away with, eating the lesser, where it just, helped a little bit with hunger pains. Um,
Yeah.
because,
I
and I don't
drink,
know. Oh, go
I
ahead.
use chicken broth. So I have a chicken broth that I'll make up. And that helps a lot. And it's salty. There's a few calories in it. Not a lot,
You just drink
but
it?
yeah, yeah. Drink it hot. And it works. I like it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, dude. And you were the one that got me on this, because because I eat such a bland diet, and I didn't even think about, because I don't add salt to anything. I didn't even think about my salt, but that's made a world of difference, because I just assume that, oh man, I'm feeling lightheaded because I'm in a caloric deficit, but I found, dude, like, now when I'm in
Salt.
extreme deficits, which I am right now, I just started my deficit diet about a week and a half ago. And like, dude, when I'm drinking, when I'm adding, electrolytes, salt, magnesium, and potassium to my water, and having enough electrolytes in there, dude, like, I never feel lightheaded
Yeah.
in a deficit. And even when I have to crank out 16-hour days in a deficit, like, I don't have those same, feelings at all. And I feel less
Yeah.
hungry. I think that I don't know this for fact, but I
It
think
definitely plays.
a lot of my hunger was more from almost dehydration than maybe it was from actually just being hungry too.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that blew my mind that you didn't sell your food, but Yeah, I've always had everybody heavy on the hand with salt, iodized salt.
Yep.
Makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I grew up, when I was young, I had a really like a big lack of vitamin K. And
Yeah.
so anytime, like if I touch like 2 McDonald's French fries, like I just had to get worse bloody noses, dude. So
Yeah.
growing up, I just got like I couldn't have anything salty because I just freaking
That's
my
right.
nose was gushing, yeah, right. So yeah, so and my wife, okay, like when I'm cooking meat, whatever, she's like, "How do you not season anything?" I'm like, I don't know, I just learned how to
Just do
eat
it.
food.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. So as we wrap up here, dude, any last piece of advice on getting ripped and maintaining muscle?
Keep data, man. If you guys need help, you can always reach out. You reach out to me on Twitter, man. I'll do my best to help you out. But without data, I can't really do it. So, and just the part of actually weighing and recording what you're eating is going to make you start to realize, and I think get you in the right state of mind and have the right information to start realizing what's working for you, what's not. And you can kind of look at your food intake and go, this, I mean, listening to us, listening, to whoever, I think you can start to realize a lot and fix a lot of the mistakes that you're doing. But without recording your food, without at least going into the diet weighing and prepping your food, I don't think you stand a chance.
Yeah.
But that's just the way that I do it.
Yeah. That's funny, dude, because it's like the same thing in business. It's like I tell my, feel like, dude, if you want my help, like not tracking or not, like I can't help you. Like it's like going to a doctor and them just throwing 50 pills at you and saying, okay, hopefully one of these takes. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. They got to run a bunch of tests. They got to pinpoint where the problems are at. But if we don't have that data, it's just throwing.
need data. Yeah, yeah, need some data.
Yep,
Yep.
100%. All right, you guys, as always, we truly appreciate being here. Truly appreciate you watching. Make sure to check out forgelife.com, forjlife.com. That's Jim and my supplement company. We've got our amazing eye formula on there, amazing nootropic to help you with that brain energy, focus energy, mental energy, all of that fun stuff. So forgelife.com. And always, Jim, always a pleasure, brother.
Same, man. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, 100%. All right, you guys, we will see you next time. Peace.